Although it's a really sad show, I like watching Intervention on A&E. If you're not familiar with this show, it features a person that's struggling with an addiction, and it gives their family background and their life story and kind of how they became an addict. And towards the end of the show, an interventionist comes in and meets with the family, and they do an intervention with the addict. And they give them an opportunity to go away for treatment. And so sometimes they take it and sometimes they don't. But what fascinates me most about the show is that it shows how addiction can really happen to anybody, regardless of what's happened in your past. I've experienced firsthand what it's like living with an addict. Before my father passed away when I was 18, he was a drug addict and an alcoholic, and so I got to witness firsthand what the struggle was really like for him and how it had such a powerful hold on his life. I think it's safe to say that most people know a family member or a friend that struggles with addiction or alcoholism, so this surely is something that's big and affects a lot of people. I want to specifically talk to you about alcoholism today and look at some statistics, talk about the effects that it has on families, and look at it from a spiritual standpoint. Alcoholism is a huge problem, and we as Christians can really help. I'd like to share some statistics that I found from the World Health Organization website. They say that worldwide there's 3.3 million deaths a year that result from the harmful use of alcohol, representing 5.9% of all deaths. And in the 20 to 39-year-old age group, 25% of total deaths are alcohol related. There's a causal relationship between harmful use of alcohol and mental and behavior disorders, and diseases and injuries like liver cirrhosis, cancers, cardiovascular diseases, as well as injuries resulting from violence and collisions. So you can see that it's a big problem, and it's one that affects more than just the individual that's struggling with alcoholism. It truly is something that affects entire families. Whether the person is a parent or a spouse or a sibling or a cousin, everyone around them is affected in some way. It affects the emotional bonds between the family members. It affects finances as the alcoholic struggles to work or to make a living. And often the resources are taken from the family, what the family really needs to go towards this addiction. According to an article in the Pediatric News talking about the effects of the family, they say, addiction can intrude and overwhelm the fine balance of needs and obligations in the home by usurping attention, energy, and resources away from the child. So it's clear that children are really affected by alcoholism, by the alcoholic. The article goes on to say that it affects their safety and their psychological and emotional development. Now, many alcoholics claim that they are in this fight alone, but evidence really shows that truly it's a fight that goes on individually. AA, which is Alcoholics Anonymous, is a 12-step program that relies on help from a higher power to overcome alcoholism. Now, depending on where you are in the country, sometimes they say God and sometimes they say Jesus Christ, but sometimes they just say higher power. They say it's a threefold disease with physical, mental, and spiritual dimensions. AA's main message is that recovery is possible, but they say it can only be conquered through a spiritual experience. So even AA pushes the message saying that really God is the only one that can help people to overcome this. God desires for his children to live healthy lives and to have healthy bodies and sound minds. And alcoholism really robs people of the joy and the peace that God wants them to experience. But we as Christians really can help. So how? Well, first you can pray. If you know someone who's struggling with addiction or struggling with alcoholism, and even if you don't, I encourage you to be just in prayer. Secondly, consider putting your faith into action, being there for people, loving them unconditionally without judgment. Consider volunteering at a rehab center, making food for a halfway house, and also to encourage pastors and church leaders to open up their churches for AA and recovery meetings. With the AA program, they actually encourage alcoholics to attend 30 meetings within the first 30 days. So that's a lot of meetings in a short amount of time. And so really churches can make a huge difference just by being available to open up their churches, opening up the doors to host these meetings. Again, it all starts with prayer though, and we should never underestimate what God can do just by praying. I thank you today for your time, and I hope that I've shed some light on this issue and what a big problem that it is for many families in our country. I encourage you to pray about how you can help or what you could do to help alcoholics or addicts that may be in your life. I believe that God created us to help each other, and I trust that He'll guide you how to help or if you should help, because we don't want our family members or friends to just become another statistic. Thank you, and God bless.